Oh, and then one thing I must remind all of you, I must introduce this to you if you're going to travel to Colombia. No de papaya.
Yeah. Y'all know what time it is, man. We represent to go on this one. Yeah.
All right, guys. Today on Black Boys Abroad, I have a special guest for you. It's random. I was leaving the gym the other day and decided to stop by Éxito, which is a local grocery store here, and I saw a guy with a FAMU shirt on. And I'm just like, FAMU is not normal for people. Maybe University of Miami, maybe Florida Gators, but not FAMU, which is an HBCU. If you don't know what that is, please Google it. And I just had to approach him. And so we were conversing for a second in the aisles just to meet another African American here in Barranquilla, which is not very touristy as a destination. And we found out that we belong to the same fraternity. So I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, man. Tell them your full name. Tell them all about yourself.
For sure. I'm Braxton McMillan. I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I'm a student currently at Florida A&M University, historically black college. And just how we met, it was literally insane because he approached me and he was speaking in Spanish, fluent in Spanish, and everything here is in Spanish. Barranquilla is a city that's more calm. It's not like the other touristy areas like Cartagena or Medellin. Entonces, like I'm still trying to adjust to the whole speaking in English now because literally everything is in Spanish. But he approached me, asked me where I was from, where I got my shirt. I told him. And then I was like, okay, where are you from? And that's when it happened. I'm from Chicago, and then, we hit it off from there. And it's literally been a crazy experience being here. I'm a foreign exchange student studying at one of the top universities, Uni Norte. I study business administration. I'm in my third year, and taking a few finance courses. And this has been incredible. The study abroad program, we literally have students from all over the world. So we have about 60 students, and I have friends from France, Germany, Spain, Italy, Mexico, Bolivia, you name it. Literally being in the States, I'm not exposed to those different types of people like that, at least in Florida. So being here has just been wonderful so far, and now being able to connect with a fraternity brother, has just made it 10 times better because I was not expecting that at all. To meet a fraternity brother here in Barranquilla was like,
Now, honestly, I felt like definitely it was one of those God things because I was working out with my boy and he was just going hard at it. Shout out to Jerome. Jerome goes hard in the paint. We were doing a 10, 10, and 10, which is like 10 pull-ups, 10 dips, and 10 push-ups. Mm-hmm. And I got halfway through, and my body was like, nah, we done. And so Jerome was still finishing up, and I decided I'm gonna go home, but before I go home, let me just stop at the grocery store. And I actually hate going to that Éxito because it's huge, the lines are long. It reminds me of Walmart, where they don't have enough tellers for the amount of people that are doing the checkout. True. I don't know if you're ever back home and you're at Walmart, and it's like 2 people working the lines, and it's like the lines are all the way to the back of the store, and you see people shelving and putting stuff on the shelves. You're like, no, come to this line, let's get through these people. And here in Barranquilla, and most places in Colombia, they don't have self-checkout. It's not a thing. I've been at La Carulla, I think it's El Carulla, even though it ends in A, but don't ask me that. They have a couple self-checkout lines, but it's very difficult when you're dealing with produce. But anyhow, so random. Ran into this young man. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not jealous of many people in life. I never wanted to be anyone else, but this guy has no idea how jealous I am of him because I started this journey to live abroad when I was 30. Okay, I'll be 40 in 2 days, right?
Can't even tell.
I appreciate this guy. I appreciate it. By the time you're watching this, I'll already be 40. And this young man is, 22?
21.
20. Bruh, he's 21.
Yeah.
He's already abroad getting that experience, and it's an exchange program. So how does that work? How did you apply for your exchange program?
Yeah, so basically I've always wanted to study abroad, and I lived in New York this past summer. And in New York, all of my colleagues had that experience. They shared that in common, and that's what really gave me the boost to just go ahead and pursue it. And literally what I did, put in a little Google search, study abroad programs, easy as that. And I mean, there are a plethora of programs. And I saw programs in Cali, Colombia, Medellin, Costa Rica, DR, all over the place. However, I wanted to get into a program that would allow me to still take business courses so that I can progress in my curriculum and graduate on time. Because in Cali, Colombia, they're known for having a large black population, Afro-Colombian population, and they have a program that was really attractive. However, there were only African or Afro-Colombian courses offered, learning about history and culture, which is great, but I wasn't able to progress in my curriculum with that. So that's how I ended up here in Barranquilla, because Uninorte offers finance courses, business, marketing, everything that you could possibly want in that arena. And I applied, had my school approve it, and it was really easy, simple as that. It did take a few months with the whole process.
Yes. And you gotta get the visa and everything.
Yeah.
So does it cost you any more, any less to be here, or is it the same tuition you're paying?
So it does cost. It costs more because number one, as far as insurance, living situation, I stay with a local family, so that is a little bit more expensive. And we do have, so with my program, basically how it works, I have a third party company that pretty much manages this whole process. So unlike other students in the foreign exchange program, they apply directly to the school with their home university. And with me, I applied to the program. It's called ISA. And with that program, I apply to them and they handle everything else as far as my living situation, insurance, and all the other necessities. And a cool part about that as well is that they do have a planned itinerary. So we go on different trips throughout the semester. So we go to Santa Marta, Cartagena, and pretty much like all over the place, like Guajira, the desert up north.
You showed me some of the pictures from Santa Marta, Tayrona.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, this country is so vast. One of the things I think is so dope about Colombia, every time you go to a different city, you feel like you're in a different country. So I definitely encourage you to go to Cali, even if it's not with the program, because Cali does have one of the highest concentrations of Afro-Latinos. Also, you got to go to Quibdó.
I heard a lot about it, yeah.
A weekend will suffice. People will tell you it's dangerous. Don't believe the hype. It's not dangerous. It's not a touristy destination, and it's not sexy. It's not pretty. It's definitely more urban than what we're used to. But for starters, I've been there before. Like we blend in when we're there. I remember leaving a nightclub, a place called Jenny Lau. I've been dancing with the folk the whole night, but I hadn't talked to anybody. So we get out and they're trying to figure out where they're going for remate. If you've never heard that word before, remate, I don't know if you're familiar with that word, but it's like the after party.
Okay.
It's like, so, I mean, I think it literally means like to kill again, like rematar, but like remate.
Makes sense.
And the after party. And they're asking, so someone asked me, now mind you, I don't know these people, I've just been with them this whole night. And I respond back like, well, I don't know, I'm not from here. And they all froze, like, wait, what? They don't sos, they don't hear this.
Hey,
I'm from the States. They're like, wait, what? You're not from Choco? Like the whole night, they thought I was Chocuano. So I thought that was dope that you get the experience. And they look like us, they vibe like us, because they are us.
Yeah.
As you know, the African diaspora just drop people off at different destinations off along the coast and along the boat ride. So Quibdó, definitely Cali. Cali's lit. Cali's dangerous, but Cali's lit. Yeah, like I would say Cali actually is dangerous as they say it is, but it's also like being in the States, like going to DC, it's like going to Chicago. I'm from Rockford, by the way, but I'm from an hour and 15 outside of Chicago. I know sometimes people be like, oh, he's claiming Chicago. I'm like, no, that's just the nearest big city. But I always tell people where I'm from. But even Chicago's very safe in certain areas, and other areas, not so much. But yeah, definitely Cali, Quibdó should be on your list. Buenaventura is another spot that people give a bad name, and it's not pretty, but it's a lot of us there, and they'll appreciate meeting an African American that's trying to learn the culture. I got to put you in contact with one of my boys who works in Cali. He gives classes, business classes. He does them in Spanish. He did a podcast episode. I'm actually still waiting to translate it because we did it in Spanish. And he's a really good guy to be in contact with, so I'll shoot you his information. But no, man, you're 21 years old. You got me beat by 9 years as far as getting this experience. What do you plan to do with this? So you finish in June. what's next? Like, what's the next goal?
So next, actually, it's funny because I'm actually moving to Chicago right after this.
The Windy City.
Yeah, literally, I'll be in the Windy City. I have an internship out there with a top 500 company, real estate, center internship. I'm looking forward to that. So really just taking it one step at a time right now. I still have another year at school. I graduate next spring. So after this internship, finish out my last year, and then honestly, I just want to travel. I want to be a world traveler, move to different countries, learn different cultures. That's something that I'm really passionate about, just constantly learning. I feel like being here, it challenges me. I feel like a baby all over again because every day, even the Uber ride at school, literally everything is in an entirely different language. I'm literally like at the bottom of the totem pole because like back at home, I'm involved in student government. I'm involved in a lot of things at my university. So I'm kind of like at the top over there. But here it's like I don't know anything. Everything's new and I'm just learning constantly every day, day in, day out. And I love that. I love just being a sponge, soaking everything in, so.
And I think it's good to come to another country, another culture with an open mind.
Yeah.
Understand that maybe they can learn from you, but your goal is to learn as much as you can from them. So sometimes you go in rooms and you don't speak a lot. Sometimes you just ask a lot of questions. Sometimes you just observe, practice your language, have those interactions. I always say like Uber rides for me are negligible because the money I spend, I'm always conversing with my taxi and Uber drivers.
Yeah, same.
Whether it's a 5-minute ride, 10-minute ride, 15-minute ride. One, it just breaks the awkward silence. Two, they're curious about you. Yeah. They want to know, how did you end up here? You know what I'm saying? What are you doing in Barranquilla of all places? Because even if you're going to go to Colombia, why not go to Cartagena? Why not go to Medellin? Okay, well, I'm here for this reason. Okay. And like he says, because there's not a lot of tourism here, it's actually a perfect opportunity to practice the language. And this is something I've talked about in previous episodes. Get out of the experience what you want. Now, whether that's cheaper cost of living, learning the language, you're traveling for love, you're traveling, to go to the beach. Get out of it what you want, but put yourself in position to get that. So if you want to learn Spanish, it's not going to be helpful if you live in what I would call Gringolandia. You live in this area where everyone just speaks English. She's staying with a host family. So that's another experience, another layer. That's what I did in Costa Rica with the Villalobos. I stayed with them in a house where I didn't speak any Spanish. And every day I'm just hearing it. I'm training my ear and I'm smelling the food. You know what I'm saying? I'm listening to the music and you start picking up on these little, it's like being a baby, right?
Yeah.
I remember someone gave me a shirt and they were saying, "This mine, this yours." I didn't understand what they were saying. But they're super proper there, so they only use usted. So they're suyos. And I was like, "It's suyo." Like, no, it's suyo. So they keep on telling me it's yours, and I'm telling them it's yours back. But I was waiting to hear tuyos, which means, it's yours, but more informal. And then I was, it's mío. That would have been the correct response, but I was completely lost. And I never forget those interactions because it's like the basis of how I learn. I remember talking about ages, and I was trying to say my sister was, I think at the time, 30. She might have been 27. Like, mi hermana es 27. And I'm supposed to say, ella tiene 27 años.
Yeah.
And so in Spanish, you have years, you're not years, right? And the guy corrected me. He's like, no, that was 2010, actually. And I remember that.
You never forget experiences like that. And like literally, when it comes to learning a language, like, when we learned English, we didn't have anything to translate it to.
Right.
It was just all off of visuals and then making mistakes and people correcting you.
Exactly.
So like that's really why I chose, to come. That's one of the reasons, as far as like that full immersion and just learning naturally, and then learning by making mistakes, learning by stumbling. Because when you stumble, you make a mistake, and you're embarrassed or it's funny, you're not gonna forget it.
Right.
You're not gonna forget it. And like you said earlier, get out of it. What you need to get out of it. That's something that really sticks out to me because, for example, with usted. Now, learning Spanish, it can kind of get complex with the whole, formal, informal. But when I first got here, one of the things I really wanted to work on was speaking formally, because I know that I would have to engage with my professors and I have to refer to them as usted. Usted, whatever. So literally once I met my host family, everything was just formal. Even though this is my family, I'm gonna be living with them, I try to just keep it formal and as far as my speech with them, and just using usted all the time as much as I can. And they would even ask me, literally, like, you can speak to me informally, like, you're gonna be living here for the next 5 months.
Yeah.
But I told them, like, I'm really trying to master this form of, professional, speaking in Spanish. And to this day, I still refer to the host mom, usted, por favor, and I'm learning a lot because it comes naturally after repetition. And man, it's an incredible experience.
Yeah, I like this young brother for a lot of reasons, not just because he's an ice cold brother, but more or less his mindset. For one, he has a growth mindset, which is something I always preach to my students, but also he's setting himself up in the right position to obtain the goals that he wants. Think about this, we're in February and everybody was New Year, New Me, but they didn't throw out their junk food, you know what I'm saying? They didn't change anything in their lifestyles that would change their habits. They joined the gym and they might have went for a week and then that was it. So if you're going to set yourself for success, I go to the gym 5 to 6 times a week. What do? Well, first and foremost, everything starts the night before. Mm-hmm. Make sure I get a good night's rest, because if I get off of work and I'm just dog tired, I'm not going to work out. Also, I pack my gym bag the night before and I take it to the school with me and I change in my office. So now I'm like taking off my principal hat, now I'm putting on my gym rat hat, right? And then if I put on my gym clothes, it's a 99% chance I'm going to the gym that day to work out. I don't think I've ever put on my gym clothes and just decided to drive home and take a nap. Mm-hmm. But if I'm still in my suit, my shirt and tie, and I got my stuff in the bag, or I don't have it packed at all, I'm gonna go home and change real quick. Maybe tomorrow. Yeah. And tomorrow becomes next year.
Right.
And I said that to say he's doing those things for the language, setting himself up for success, staying with a host family, being intentional about it. And what you'll find out is they're trying to learn English, so sometimes they'll respond back to you in English, and like, that's cute, but I'm trying to get Spanish out of this experience. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be a jerk, but let me practice, because if not, you could be somewhere 4, 5, 6, 10 years and never get the language better. Shout out to my Uncle Herman, who lives in Cali. He's been here for 10 years. He's still in the Uber. Like, turn left. I'm like, Tio, they don't know what turn left mean, man. Turn right.
Right.
And he's benefited because his wife speaks some English, and so she translates everything for him. But again, love you, Herman. There's not any shade at you, but you have to set yourself up for success. So going back, I know I was talking about what's next. What has been the most challenging aspect of coming here? You just got here recently, right?
Yeah.
So what's been the most challenging aspect of being here?
The most challenging aspect, apart from language, the language barrier, would probably be just customs and, the norm, as far as even waving down a bus or catching a ride or a taxi or anything of that sort. I feel like here everything's a lot more quick, aggressive. Literally, even the driving. I mean, brakes don't exist here. Brakes and lanes don't exist.
Well, they wasted their money on the little dots they put on, the little dashes they put on the roads. Like they're not even reference points.
No, literally. Even just customs, mannerisms, I would say, still kind of adjusting to that. For example, I met a young lady, and we went out, paid, just being a gentleman, usually you pay if you invite someone out. And then second date, pay again. But one thing I noticed, she wasn't saying thank you. So I'm thinking, okay, in the States, that's something that, someone, if you're being generous, you're paying, usually people say, oh, thank you, I appreciate it. Mm-hmm. But if they don't, it's kind of seen as they're not grateful. They're ungrateful. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking, wow, okay, it's been 2 days. All right, she's not saying thank you. Just keeping it in mind. So then by the third date, I asked her about it. And I'm just like, what's going on? And she, explained to me that in her culture, usually the guys just, pay. And as far as saying thank you, that's just not something she's accustomed to. And I tell her kind of like my background and how, like, in the States, you just think you're getting used or whatever the case may be. You're taking someone out, they kind of just have like this entitled, like, you're supposed to pay. You're a man, you pay, and it's like they expect it. But, I just made it clear, like, that's where I'm coming from, that's what I'm used to. And then we kind of just cleared the air, but that was something that I wasn't aware of. And then she wasn't aware of, so definitely helped me learn. I learned a little bit about her culture. She learned a little bit about mine. And I feel like, back to what I was saying earlier about learning constantly, not just language, but learning about the cultural norms. I'm like learning so much day in, day out, and it just never stops, and it's just feeding my appetite, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the things where growth is definitely on the other side of fear. It's on the other side of challenges. Mm-hmm. And each day is a challenge. It presents new opportunities to grow. And it's easy to take the easy way out, right? It's like, oh, you know what? I don't feel like practicing Spanish today. Let me avoid my host family. Let me avoid that conversation at the end of class. Mm-hmm. But those are the moments that you can't get back. And that's the reason why you're here. You're not super far away from family, because it's a 2.5 hour flight to Miami. Yeah. But you're not close to family. You're in a different country, speaking a different language, learning different customs. You have to take advantage of this opportunity, because it may not present itself again the same way. In the future, I know, because you're a smart young man, you're going to find your way back abroad, I'm sure, COC, but you may not be back in Barranquilla. Sure. So why not take advantage of this from now to June, maximize, the potential of this trip. So that's been the most challenging part. What has been like the most beneficial part of your experience here in Barranquilla?
The most beneficial part for me has definitely been the diversity and meeting so many different types of people. So because I'm in this foreign exchange program, we have people from all over the world, and I've been able to build connections with people from so many different countries and learn more about their background and their cultures, while we're all here in Barranquilla learning about the Barranquilla culture and Colombian culture, speaking Spanish. And it's so interesting because with a lot of these students, they speak like 4 or 5 different languages. I'm from America, hey, I could barely speak English, but hey, we here, I'm learning. But these students, they're brilliant. They're speaking French, Portuguese, Spanish, and English. English superb.
You probably never heard this joke before, but I'll ask you, maybe you have. So, What do you call somebody that speaks 2 languages?
Bilingual.
What do you call somebody that speaks 3 or more languages?
Trilingual or polyglot.
Okay, what do you call somebody that speaks 1 language?
American.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I heard that joke when I was in college, and it's facts.
Yeah.
To an extent, the typical profile of like American, digamos gringos person, but we do have a lot of diversity within the states. We just don't embrace it.
Yeah, true.
We don't lean into it because it's kind of like everyone wants to assimilate, and we don't understand that's not what makes America great. What makes America an amazing place to be is the diversity, and by embracing other cultures, what they tried to do to the Native Americans is like, no, you have to cut your hair, you have to have our religion. What they did to us Africans, was systematically done to try to get people to assimilate to American society. But now you're losing the richness of those different ethnicities, these different cultures. And here you see, have you had the Arabic food here yet?
Yeah, I have.
Delicious, because it's a huge Lebanese population here. I would have never known that, but this being a port city, a lot of Lebanese people came, a lot of Jewish folk, it's a lot of Germans here.
Germans, yeah.
Italians, I'm all over. So in your exchange program, where are the countries that people are from?
Germany, we have a large influence from Germany, France, Italy, Spain, a large population from Spain, Mexico, Bolivia, Chile, and apart from the States, I think that's about it. Portugal as well. And actually to piggyback on that point about the German and different cultures, coming here to Barranquilla. So we took a trip to Santa Marta. We went to the Minca.
Yep.
And we visited the first place where they started to produce coffee here. And they showed us the entire process. And one of the interesting things that I found out was that the founders are German. Wow. The founders are German, making Colombian coffee. That was like mind blowing to me, because you would think, it's Colombian coffee. That's one of the products that Colombians specialize in as far as the import export goes. And the founders of that plant are Germans. You know, so it was super interesting. And
when you think about the Colombian exchange, though, because I think coffee originally is from like the Middle East, if I'm not mistaken, and so it's cultivated here a lot, and we think that it's like from here, but obviously the Colombian exchange starts in the late 1400s, comes about because of basically colonization, but a lot of things wouldn't exist, like Italy wouldn't have tomatoes if it wasn't for the Colombian exchange. So it is surprising, but not as surprising. And I was in Santa Marta last week, and I was at this place called Lulito, if I'm not mistaken, and it was like one of the first American-owned restaurants in Santa Marta. The food was delicious. It was only Colombians working there when I went, but they definitely got American prices. It was expensive, but the menu was like all locally grown foods, and that whole area, I'll probably put some B-roll up there, it's all developed now. If you would have been here 7-8 years ago, it didn't exist. It's like one restaurant 7 years ago, but Santa Marta is experiencing a lot of growth, and Minca still hasn't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
You're not gonna find a lot of growth in Minca yet.
Right. And then another thing too, as far as the diversity goes with Colombia, you know, one thing I learned is that the Colombian is made of 4 different types of ethnicities. You have Arabic, you have the indigenous, you have the Spaniards, and then you have the African. And that's what makes the Colombian, and they come in all different shapes, forms, and colors. Like you see Colombians with my skin complexion, you see Colombians that are darker, and then you see Colombians that are very pale. And you know, the features, features similar to us, features similar to people from Spain. Colombians come in all different types of shapes and forms. And that was something that really surprised me, because coming from the States, I feel like people aren't really exposed to the huge Latin population. We are, but we're not. And I say that to say, you know, the typical stereotype, if someone is speaking Spanish, you know, in the States, oh, they're Mexican. Like literally, that's what, you know, everyone would say. And, you know, as far as someone black speaking Spanish, off rip, they may say, oh, they're Dominican, you know. Or a lot of times, if you're black in the States and you try to speak to someone in Spanish, they'll probably reply to you in English, because they don't think black people speak Spanish, or they are black Latin or Afro, you know, Latino culture. But like literally, the African diaspora, like you were mentioning earlier, it's so pervasive, and everyone knows about DR. But as far as Colombia and like the darker complexion and darker skinned Colombians, I don't think they really have that spotlight globally.
But you think about the media, every time you see Miss Colombia, she does look Italian.
Exactly.
Right? They do the same thing with Cuba. Cuba is black. I don't know if you've been there yet. Cuba is Nigeria black, fam.
Yeah.
I've been there 3 times. But every time I see Cubans in media, they look Italian, they look white. Yeah. And there are Cubans that are white, right? But the vast majority, I think Cuba has to be like 80% Afro-Latino. And they look like us, lighter, darker. You know, it's like coffee, con leche, sin leche, poco de leche. Depends. But I think media does a certain level of whitewashing. And they do that with the States, though.
Yeah.
We sell whiteness, like worldwide. And so it's something you have to recognize, and you can call it white supremacy, you can call it whatever you want to, but it's the truth. When I speak English here sometimes, and it's happened to me, people are like, but you're not from here? I'm like, no. It's like, but you know, you're black, and so they don't, it's a disconnect, but it happens to us. We hear a black person speaking Spanish in the States, it throws us off.
Yeah.
And not me anymore, because I've been abroad for so long, but I remember being young. I don't think I ever told this, but what got me interested in learning Spanish was my aunt was married to this guy, my Uncle Rob. What up, Aunt? And they're not together anymore, haven't been for years, but he was Dominican.
Okay.
I never knew this. I was in their wedding. Never knew he was Dominican. One day he takes a phone call. He's just speaking Spanish in the corner. Wait, what? I'm 13 years old. What just happened here?
Yeah.
Because he was speaking Spanish, you know what I'm saying? And that's when I found out, no, he's Dominican. And then next Thanksgiving, I met his mom and his stepdad. They didn't speak much English. And I was just like, whoa, but they my color.
Yeah.
So that threw me off.
Same features.
But yeah, Colombia, Cali, black. Look, I went to a nightclub in Cali, fam. They had on Jordans. Somebody had on, this is years ago, they had on Kobe Bryant jersey. And they dancing salsa, but they dancing just like how we would dance salsa.
Right. And one thing I would like to, you know, add on to that is that the richness of, you know, Africans and black culture, you know, worldwide is literally the same. When I say that, I mean to say, you know, I find black Colombians here, and I mean the culture is just so rich. Like literally, when it comes to the music and just the culture in general, I mean, we literally started it all. When it comes to salsa, merengue, bachata, champeta, like whatever you want to call it. I mean, the roots are from African, descendants. The roots are from Africa. The beats, the drums, everything is from Africa. And, I do notice that the people here do have a lot of respect for the Afro-Colombians. In the carnival and everything, they have a lot of respect because, the Africans literally started a lot of that stuff. Palenque, the first free black town outside of Cartagena, 100% black. And, their culture, they're still maintaining that culture with the Palenque women. But, it's incredible.
No, the history is rich, and we don't hear these stories. It's some I don't know the information about Palenque exactly, but I know they still have certain African dialects that they were able to maintain 400 years later.
Yeah.
I watched a video once, and a guy, I think he's from Ghana, and he heard some Palenque people speaking some words that's like twi, or tree, I think it's the language. He teared up because it didn't make sense to him. Like how it's been 400 years since they left, and they still got like certain parts. They're speaking his native language in a foreign land where no one speaks that language outside of Ghana.
Right.
And so, like, how does this happen? So I studied linguistics when I got my master's, my first master's, not flexing, humble flex. I had my first master's of arts and teaching, and I did a specialization in bilingual education. And I took a linguistic class, and historians study history by a lot of different ways. One thing that never lies are the languages. So when you start looking at the roots of languages, and that's how in Africa they can always trace back things, this is Swahili based, this is Bantu based. And a lot, even the things that we do as African Americans come from Africa. Like, we don't usually pronounce our ERs, and that's not a sound that's often made in Western African places. So instead of saying bigger, we say bigger.
Yeah.
That's the word we're gonna use for today. We're not gonna use the other word. And so we do that, and there's a lot of different phonetic sounds. Now, obviously, if we want to speak the King's English, proper English, we can. But why should we have to? Proper. Because certain things, they call it normal. But just because something is normal doesn't mean it's correct. And this is the thing I hate about, and we can have back and forth about this. This is like, I'm going off on a tangent. When people start talking about, don't learn Dominican Spanish, it's bad Spanish. No, they speak Spanish.
Another dialect.
It's another dialect, and they speak it with their flavor. ¿Qué es lo que muchacho? Ya tú sabes, entonces dímelo.
¿Cómo tú estás?
¿Cómo tú estás? ¿Tú estás crazy? ¿Tú estás loco?
Yeah, I like it.
Shout out to Ricky, Bilingual Blogs. That's my dude. But it's like when people in Louisiana speak English, it's not bad English, it's just different. Like, hey, little daddy, hey, little water. Yeah. In Florida, I'm gonna be honest, I don't understand y'all half the time.
What happening?
You feel me? And it's not, and black people always gonna put our flavor on it.
Yeah. When
I hear Black Colombian, Afro-Colombian, I know, like, that's different.
They got the flavor, man. They got the flavor. The way they dance, the way they move, the way they look, it's just like, they're Colombian. You have the white Colombians, black Colombians, mulatto, looking Colombians, but the black ones, they have that flavor. You see that in every culture. Yeah. I love it, man.
But I will say in Colombia, you can have a Colombian white as snow that can still have rhythm, which is not common in other places.
Yeah, that's true.
I know some Caleñas that look, super European, but they get out there and they'll dance to like the African drums, and they got those, those maiden dances that they do, whatever. I think all dancing is maiden calls anyway. But that's something you see in the States. You got the traditional, like, idea of a white person dancing off beat. Here, it's not as bad. But I do know some Colombians that can't dance, so everybody can't dance here. I don't know, what are you looking most forward to next? So you've been here for like roughly a month, right?
About 3 weeks, yeah.
About 3 weeks. What's next on your plate? What you got coming up? What trips you got planned?
So we have a trip planned to Cartagena this upcoming weekend.
Okay.
Really looking forward to that. Cartagena is literally one of the most popular places for tourism here. That's what I've heard. First time, going, experiencing the place. But I'm sure you could probably share more details, and recommendations for Cartagena. But
for one, that thing that I put over there, that little thing you put around your waist, use that. Because they steal. They steal early and often in Cartagena. Yeah. So I got one of them joints too. Put your phone, your documents in there, have it underneath.
And then one thing I must remind all of you, I must introduce this to you if you're going to travel to Colombia. No de papaya. Nunca. Papaya. No hay que dar papaya.
That's the first thing I learned.
Yeah, that's the first thing I learned. And basically what that means, don't make yourself a target. Don't lollygag with your phone walking down the street, taking pictures, all of that stuff. I know you're new here, but it's like people are always watching. And just like anywhere in the States as well, you never want to make yourself a target because people know off rip when you're not from that area.
Yeah.
And
Well, this is what I'll say about the don't give papaya. First and foremost, in Cartagena, because it's so touristy, everybody that's in the walled city are tourists. Whether they're from Colombia, Spain, Brazil, lo que sea. They're all tourists. I'm not gonna say don't have your phone out. I think that's an unrealistic expectation because you're gonna take pictures, but be careful. So there's one thing to have your phone out at noon when you're with a bunch of people and you're sober. There's another thing to have your phone out at 2 a.m. when you by yourself and you're drunk, walking back to your spot. And so, like you said, don't make yourself a target, don't make yourself vulnerable. So be very careful. I know recently this happened. I don't know if my boss is okay with me sharing this, but I'm gonna share it. He's by the clock tower, and if you ever been to the clock tower, you haven't been there yet. There's a lot of sketchy people by the clock tower in Cartagena. He walked away from his brother, and 4 women approached his brother. Now, mind you, we're nice looking guys. His brother's a nice looking guy, but 4 women don't normally approach you. It's not normal women behavior.
Right.
And they got really close to him. Cell phone gone.
Yeah.
Cell phone gone. He was fortunate. First person ever in history. Got his cell phone back. He was like, no, these girls just took my phone when he got back to his brother. He's like, these girls just took my phone. And I think they just gave it to that guy and they found it in the cooler. The police came, they found his phone in the cooler along with other cell phones. So it's just a whole big scam. But yeah, don't get papaya. But be realistic. You're gonna have your phone out at times. And just be careful about how you have it out. Carnival's in a couple weeks.
Oh yeah.
It's very easy to get papaya during Carnival. Definitely you want to take care of your things, take care of your items. Also, make sure you have insurance. Because if it's getting stabbed or giving up an iPhone, give up the iPhone and just get some more money later. And I don't think it's a huge threat, but it does disturb your peace of mind if you've ever lost it. No one wants to get robbed.
Yeah, exactly.
No one ever wants to get robbed. But now Cartagena's gonna be lit. Yeah, definitely be careful. I don't love Cartagena, but I like it. You know what I'm saying? It's dope in a lot of aspects, but you do feel like a tourist.
Yeah.
You do feel like a tourist.
They say the islands though.
Dope.
Yeah.
So you take una lancha. You're gonna take a boat ride. You got like 45 minutes. It's cool going. When you're coming back, it's biblical. Okay, so just whatever spirituality you got, man, just pray to him, pray to her, whoever it is, because coming back, like your boat be going boom, because the way the waves are, so they have to cut the waves.
Okay.
It's not fun. It's not fun. It's not pretty. But no, that's dope, man. Well, I'm not gonna hold you guys too long. I met this young brother. It's been like a week, right?
Yeah, literally.
It's been a week.
Yeah.
I wanted to get him in. We were just here conversing on a Sunday, and I was like, you know what? You ever been on the podcast? He's like, well, no. I'm like, let's do this, just because I never know I'm gonna get this opportunity again. I think it's cool to document these experiences, and maybe 10 years after he's owned a couple corporate, Fortune 500 companies, and he owes it all to like this experience living in Barranquilla. I'll be like, yeah, I met him first, okay? I met him at Éxito back in February of 2023, and so where can people find you on social media if you care to be found?
I'm more of a low-key guy, but if you do want to find me on social media, lowkey_Brax, that's my page, and you can find me there.
He's literally low-key. He has low-key on his IG. And ladies, to the best of my knowledge, he is single. He does speak Spanish. It's getting better, but he could use some help. And so let's reach out. Now I'm just messing with you, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you got a lot from this episode. I'm gonna be re-interviewing this brother. If you have any questions for him, leave the comments below. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. All those great things. Holla at your boy. Peace.
Till the next time. Yes,
All right,
sir.
man.
Yeah. Y'all know what time it is, man. We represent to go on this one. Yeah.